Hey Albert, how are you doing?
Doing well. How are you?
Good. Into the Metaverse number 6. We're getting there.
Yeah, getting up there. Soon to be double digits.
Yep. So I actually have good news about that. I found someone to basically discuss finance during the week, and that's just gonna be my coworker.
Awesome. So we're adding extra episode a week.
I think so. Yeah.
Sweet. Awesome. Yeah, I'm excited for that. That'll be really interesting. Take a
hmm
bit deeper look into finance.
Absolutely. And speaking of finances, it seems like Meta is working on their finances. Nice segue, I know, right? So
Yeah.
this comes from Blind, and basically it's beware of budget cuts. Posted 6 days ago from this random user. And basically, he says that he has inside knowledge that Meta is cutting 50% of their budgets. What do you think about that?
Yeah, it's kind of surprising, I want to say, but then with
Mm-hmm.
the plummeting of their shares, I guess it kind of makes sense. And also, it seems like they really want to focus a bit more heavily on expanding their like metaverse organization. So like cutting the organizations that aren't as important, I guess, in the future
Mm-hmm.
now, and then focusing more on like the metaverse and what they actually want to do.
Fair enough.
Um, Kind of
My
makes
dad
sense.
has been saying this for a while now, but he's basically under the impression that 500K tech salaries are unsustainable. And if you go to
Yeah,
levels.fyi, you know exactly what I'm talking
yeah, it's insane. Yeah,
about. In
but
fact,
Meta does have. I feel like Meta is like one of the companies that can afford to do that. Um, but yeah,
mhm.
it's that's a good topic too that we could dive into at some point, maybe on another podcast
I'm just gonna
episode.
pull this up for the viewers real quick, but this is like a software engineering salary. So E6 at Meta is 564,000. E5 is like 400,000. These companies basically collect engineers like you would like Pokemon in a video game, right? It's like
Yeah,
how many staff can you have? Google is
yeah,
very similar. Microsoft is probably the worst paying one out of the big tech companies, but um, yeah. So if the only reason they're able to do this, Google, Facebook, and to a certain extent Apple, is because their margins on their goods are so high.
hmm,
Microsoft cannot do this because they have lower margin products with their hardware teams and stuff like that. And similarly, Amazon is they're competing in e-commerce space where they want the lowest possible cost. So no
right.
one's really competing with Facebook or Google for search or social media.
Yeah,
They're trying, but so okay.
no, that's a
Um,
great point too, though. I didn't think of that.
would you want to leave a company that you know has budget cuts going on? I don't think it's a good sign.
It's not a good sign for sure. Yeah, it's hard to say. I'd probably start looking though.
hmm
Because I'm assuming that means layoffs. So yeah, I'd probably just start, eyeing my other options at that point,
Gotcha.
or or
Dust off the
make
old
sure I'm
resume.
switching. Yeah, brush up on the code. No, but yeah,
hmm
definitely. I mean, I guess internal transfer would work too if you would be interested in working on one of the teams that they're prioritizing at this point.
hmm I think prioritizing the legal one would be a little bit interesting. Legal tech for the regulations.
Right. It seems like
hmm
they either know something that's coming up, like for example, like well, in this episode, we're going to cover some stuff later on that has to do with legal. Um, so maybe that's an anticipation of that article of that antitrust thing that's going on.
Well, why don't we just jump right into it?
Yeah,
So,
let's jump right into it.
all right, this next one is EU targets U.S. tech giants with a new rulebook aimed at curbing their dominance. I am not happy with this. Basically, what they're doing is that a company needs to earn more than I think like $1 billion plus, and they need to have more than 45 billion. Not 45 billion. That's more people than on the entire planet. They need to have basically more than 45 million active users, and if you meet those requirements, then the EU can penalize you if you don't follow the European Union's rules. They can penalize you 10% of your global revenue and 20% if you're a repeat offender.
Yeah, it's a pretty harsh. That's a pretty big penalty. Like when we look at penalties for companies doing bad things, like
hmm
they're generally not super like impactful, I'd say, on like the long term directory, like a trajectory of the company. But this is actually pretty significant,
Do you not think
in my opinion.
it's super fucked up? It's global revenue. Like, why are we going to start seeing European Facebook or European Google that's separate from the main?
Uh,
I think that's the only
yeah,
way
it
around
is.
it,
It
right?
is. Yeah, it is definitely like yeah. The thing that is that it's like global revenue is that's what makes it significant in my mind because it's like to beat that, I guess you would have to change your business model across like globally, or you
Hmm.
could do the European Facebook or what you just said.
Right.
Um, so yeah, I think it's either one of those is going to have to happen to bypass this.
I would love it if all the American tech companies got together and just overnight said, "No, we're cutting you off," and like it just caused a clusterfuck in Europe.
Yeah, yeah, which is literally what they're trying to not have happen too,
Well,
essentially.
that's the thing is like for these companies on their bottom line, it maybe accounts for 30% of their revenue, right? Because the U.S. is the most profitable country to do business, and then you have other like
Yep.
Commonwealth nations like Canada, Australia, whatever. But
Yeah,
then
yeah,
the entire European Union is an additional 1 billion customers that all are middle class essentially, right?
yeah,
Or wealthy, first world
yeah.
countries.
I'd say 30% is even high, honestly. That's probably the higher end of it.
Okay. So let's say that we just cut off Europe. What would the cost be on to like Facebook? 25. I think it would be like 30% of their revenue gone overnight.
I think so. But also, it would be like just such a huge shift. Like all those products that you just listed, or the companies, like they have such like a high impact on,
Hmm.
I guess, just the world. Don't you think we'd see like giant protests that happen?
I think they're trying to do this on purpose. So, okay, first of all, we said that the global revenue part is fucked up because it's global, it's not Europe. But the second part
Yeah,
is it's revenue. It's not profit, it's
right.
revenue.
It's revenue. Yeah, that's a distinction that like you gotta understand. Yeah,
Hmm. So effectively, one of if a company is penalized a single time under this law, that could, in theory, wipe out their entire profit for the entire year.
yeah, yeah. Depending on how their profit model works.
Okay, now let me
Like,
ask you this:
mhm.
you are a member of Congress. You have been advocating that tech companies need to be regulated more. The EU regulates tech companies. They impose a 10% global revenue fine on Google, okay? Facebook and Apple within the same year. This causes all three of those companies to, fire like 10, 20,000 workers each. As a US congressman, what do you do? Are you like, yes, this is what I wanted, or do you have to take up arms against Europe, basically?
No, that's a good point because
Like, whose
I
side are
think
you
there
on?
are like, oh no, I'm on. Yeah, I'd be on the American side, like,
Okay.
because you don't want someone else coming in and like screwing up
Hmm.
your like business, like especially if you're in the congressman and you're like working on it already and trying to come up with like a solution that works, and then EU comes in and they're like, all right, this is how we're doing it. Like, you probably wouldn't be happy about it.
Hmm. I should also say that this law in particular only targets like search engines and what was the other thing, like smartphone manufacturers and stuff like that. There are specific carve outs to major European companies like Spotify. They don't list music, even though Spotify has 100 million plus users.
Yeah. So why would they do that? Like, what
It's an
benefit is
anti-American
it?
law. That's what it is.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
World War III comes, we're not gonna save them again a third time. They're on their own. I'm joking, kind of, only partially. Okay, so this is like a continuation of this bill. It's the TechCrunch article. Europe says yes to messaging interoperability as it agrees on a on major new regime for big tech. So this is kind of like part of that same legislation. And this one, what it basically means is, you know, the blue bubble and green bubble on iPhone and Android?
Exactly.
Okay. So now they're saying that if WhatsApp wants in on that same message thread or whatever, they have to get access. Um, I'm okay with that. I don't think it's a huge deal, but this is now the follow up though. Part of this
Yeah.
legislation says that if Apple has something like Siri, they need to give everyone else access to Siri, or if they have a specific component in their phone or a specific API that's used in their phone, such as payments, like the Apple ID wallet thing, other companies need to be able to go in.
Okay. I don't know, man. At first glance, that sounds like a, making a big deal out of nothing, honestly. What is, I don't get it. How does, like the green bubble, blue bubble thing, how would WhatsApp even have access to that? Because that uses, that's like an iMessage thing.
Mm-hmm. Well, the reason why it's the reason why it's green bubble is because it's not RCS. I think it's like a messaging protocol, and Apple
Mm.
doesn't allow other devices to integrate.
Oh, I see.
So now the EU is basically forcing Apple to give up that, you know, their IP. Um,
Yeah.
this also falls
Yeah.
into the App Store, right? Is where the EU part of this law would say Apple needs to open up the App Store, and with the have you been following what happened in the Netherlands with like the dating thing, the dating
No, I actually
legislation?
haven't.
Okay,
I don't think so, no.
the Netherlands took the first shot at Apple by saying, you guys need to open up your app store to dating applications and allow them to basically have third party payments. And Apple said, okay, but we're going to charge them 28% instead of 30% because 28% is what we think our intellectual property costs.
Yeah, seems
Mm-hmm.
fair.
And the EU is now saying, no, you can't do that. You need to allow third party platforms and you can't charge for IP.
Oh, wow.
So,
That's pretty hard hitting.
yeah. They vote
Like,
on this
why
in
aren't
October.
they? Huh, wow. Why aren't they allowed in Netherlands? In the
It's
first place.
specifically for dating apps. So it's this very
Yeah.
specific piece of legislation, something to do with like there's government sponsored entities like the IRS, for example, is like a department of the U.S. government for collecting
Hmm.
taxes. The Netherlands specifically has one to regulate dating applications. I'm not joking this. And they gave a wide authority to this governing body, right? For but in the context of dating. Okay.
That's
Uh,
so weird.
and so this dating government watchdog basically said, okay, in to allow fairness of dating and to promote love and marriage, prosperity, whatever. I'm making up the second part, but they basically said, no, Apple, you guys need to allow third party payments in dating apps, and Apple had to comply. The max penalties under that law were a $50 million fine, and I believe Apple failed to comply 5 times properly. So they tried it. They tried like various workarounds and whatever, like entitlements and certifications. So you could post like special versions only for the Netherlands, and the watchdog said no, this is too laborious for developers to manufacture. So we're just going to fine you $10 million, and they fined them that 5 times, so $50 million cap.
Damn.
And if I were Tim Cook, I would just ban dating apps on the iPhone in the Netherlands. Period.
Yeah, yeah. That was my first thought too. It's like not even worth it at that point.
Yeah, and just say like, nope, we're keeping our foot down. There's two
Yeah.
ways. Either you give us. I'm honestly wondering why they didn't double down and say, nope, it's going to cost you 35% now. Uh,
Honestly,
we had to
yeah.
keep extra developers on this bullshit that cost us additional resources and money. So it's going
Yeah.
to cost you more.
Yeah, no, exactly, exactly. That's so bizarre to me. Actually, I had
Mm-hmm.
no idea there was that like governing entity there.
I'm telling you, regulations be crazy.
Yeah, mind blown. Speaking of that, do you want to move on to the article by Ars Technica?
Uh,
Google routinely hides emails from litigation by CCing attorneys, DOJ alleges.
this one's great. I forgot to open this one up, but let me go ahead and do that right now. Where is it? Oh, I see it. Perfect. Yep. Okay, got it. So, you want to give the context to this? Because I think this is hilarious. It's great.
Sure. So, yeah, essentially the concept here is that Google was hiding emails from their litigation by literally just CCing attorneys. So saying like adding legal to this email and then copying lawyers on the emails.
Why does that work?
I think because it creates okay, I could be wrong. A conflict of interest?
Attorney-client privilege.
Okay.
So in the U.S., we basically say that anything that you tell your lawyer cannot be used against you. That being said, if you tell your lawyer you murdered someone, the lawyer can't say that you didn't murder that person.
Yeah.
So you have to be careful, how you say it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, so this, whoops. Yeah, so if you're an executive at Google and you think that you're basically discussing anything anti-competitive, you can essentially just CC a lawyer on it and it can't be used in court.
Yeah.
That's a great strategy.
I was just going to say, that's such a simple thing. Like, it's free to do.
Why would you not just copy your attorney in every email that you send from now on?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, they're getting so much heat. It's like, might as well, right?
Albert, I found the loophole. I found it. We want to talk about end-to-end encryption. Make sure your lawyer has the encryption key and is CC'd on all the emails. It doesn't matter if it's hacked, or encryption is broken. The government can't use it anyway. The end.
You just need a CC legal on every single email you send from now on, even if it's a casual email. CCing legal.
No, they're automatically CC'd. You're missing the point.
Oh, they're automatically CC'd.
Yeah, you don't even have to do it intentionally. It's just auto. Done. So 14 attorney state generals asked a federal judge to sanction Google for misusing attorney-client privilege. But now here's my question, right? I think this is like an innate privilege. I don't think they can do that. I think this is a legitimate loophole. Until Congress legislates this,
Yeah.
Who's going to decide when it's legitimate and when it's not legitimate? That's the part that scares me.
Exactly. I feel like that just gets into like a pissing contest, for lack of a better word.
Right, and then here's another thing. If you're a Google attorney and you can essentially delay these fines for years just by going through litigation appeals and everything like that. If you have 14,000 emails, you'd have to get a ruling on each and every single one of those emails.
Oh, yeah. Mountain of paperwork, yeah.
And then here's the thing. Then you can appeal each one of those rulings that if they were illegal to basically disinclude them. And by then, the Attorney General is going to retire.
Yeah, no. By then, it's not even a problem. Like, you're dealing with different things by that point, I'm sure. Like, the only way I can see us having any effect is that, like, they changed the rule book after this. But I think they're in the clear on this one.
Okay. So maybe the European Union is right. Maybe big tech is too big. I know I'm flip-flopping here, but, like, let's be honest. Like, you see shit like this and you're just like, okay, guys, come on, at least play a little bit fair.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's not even it doesn't even have to deal with the issue that they're getting, that they're dealing with the antitrust thing. It's just like, it's unrelated, but I don't know. I think it makes sense. I think it's brilliant, to be honest. It's so simple.
Mm-hmm. So I actually have even a better future for you. You know how Snapchat is buying this headset maker called Nextmind? And the goal is to basically make this hardware/devices that you can control via your mind, right? So Albert, what if I just thought it and you heard it because it goes directly into your brain? No email needed. It's telepathic at that point.
You just know that I would
Hmm.
just know that you already CC legal into that thought.
Exactly. So here's kind of like the crazy stuff with this. This is a Paris-based company, and they announced a $399 dev kit. Um, so this technology, like they've kind of validated, okay,
Yeah.
to a certain extent, right? And I forgot how much Snapchat paid for this company. 1 second, let me see if I can find that info. I thought I read 2 billion, but it could have been 200 million as well.
I'm not sure actually.
Okay,
Isn't this what essentially what Neuralink was going to do though?
Elon Musk,
Yeah,
Neuralink.
yeah,
Yeah, but that's like a brain implant. This is more
that's
so.
true. Yeah,
I don't actually know how this works. This is weird.
no, that's a good point. Yeah, go ahead though.
Are we going too far into the future?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, definitely yes, but it's fun to
Hmm.
ride the bus.
I think I said this in our first podcast. The entire industry is vertically integrating, um,
Yeah,
and so there's three types. There's like the software for AR VR stuff. Then there's the
hmm,
actual hardware, so like essentially the displays and everything. And part of this TechCrunch article is Snap purchased Wave Optics. I think like last month or the same month. Wave Optics makes optical displays for AR VR headsets. So right, and then you have to vertically integrate the content. So whether it's video games or some type of apps or something like that. So when I say initial software, I'm talking about the OS, right? I have an Oculus Quest here, right? The Meta Oculus Quest. The operating system and like the motions that you use for the controllers and everything, they're seamless. Like it is extremely intuitive. Anyone below the age of 30 and probably below age of 40 can figure out how to use it within 5 minutes of putting it on. It is fantastic.
that that's an achievement. It's hard to
Mm-hmm.
make something like brand new like that, and then also have it be easy to use.
It honestly felt like an Apple moment for me when I kept it on.
Yes, yeah, that's a really good way of describing it.
It just works.
It just works. Yeah.
Hmm. Okay. Um, so you want to talk about the good use case of this one about mind reading software?
Are you talking about the Mixmag article?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. All right. So, paralyzed man says first words in months without brain implant, and those words are "I want a beer."
Oh my
And
god.
he also asked to listen to a rock band Tool and ordered a curry. So,
Hmm.
yeah, this guy was undergoing research in Switzerland, and I guess he's completely paralyzed. He's
Right.
36 years old. Um, but yeah, so he was paralyzed because he had ALS, which is I
The
actually
ice
don't know
bucket
what that is.
challenge.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be
Um,
completely honest. I still don't know what ALS is, other than it feels like you have cold water dumped on you.
yeah. Yeah. Okay. Um, yeah. So they did this by putting two electrode arrays into his
Hmm.
brain, and then I guess 3 years later, I guess he was able to communicate his first words using that brain implant. So he can't even move his eyes. Like he's
Hmm.
paralyzed. Yeah. He also said, "I love my cool son." So yeah, this is a pretty good candidate in my opinion for this technology.
Hmm. Okay.
Yeah, what do you think is like? Is this going to be like the future for like patients like this who are in this state?
Dude, it leads to so many possibilities. Like this is starting to get like Black Mirror-ish. So right now we're seeing the
Yeah.
good side of it. We're seeing like, hey, if I think about like a robot moving its arms like a caterpillar work thing, then it can move and construct materials from long distances. Or like if I'm fully disabled, it allows me to do something with my life without having to move any of my body parts. Right.
Yeah,
Um,
it gives you a second chance. Yeah,
a second chance. Um,
which just sounds like Theranos.
exactly, and oh my god, James Cameron is also working on the movie Avatar, Avatar 2,
Yep.
right? You know about this, like the blue alien
Yeah.
creatures.
Yeah.
So it seems
Oh, I didn't
like
know there's a second one coming out though.
yeah, it's the sequel. It took
Okay.
8 years.
8 years.
8 years. Another $1 billion spent on it. So the issue with this, and I hate to be a downer, but what if the police keep this headset on you during questioning and now you can't lie? You're fucked.
Oh my god.
You just like think of the worst shit possible. Like, hey Albert, what
Well,
is
you
your
could,
social security number?
yeah, you
Why
could
have this?
literally do like a deep dive and just go into this rabbit
Mm-hmm.
hole of like the worst ways that this could be ever used in so easily.
And
And
I'm
it
telling you,
probably
that's why
is.
it's so Black Mirror-ish.
It is very much so. I mean, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
What if you just wanted to fuck with someone and you change the signals for left and right hand movements in like for their avatar body?
Yeah, that's like that's hilarious. That's like when you used to I used to go on the computers in like I don't know like elementary school and I'd do like the what is like command shift up arrow key and it would like flip
On
the
the
screen
screen.
upside down.
Yep. Ah, you dick. I used to do the same thing, so we're in the same book.
Yeah.
Signs that you're going to be a software engineer in the
Mhm.
future
Mhm.
if you inverted the screens. Okay, fair enough. All right. So this one is kind of tech related, but more so it's the Uber one with the New York City. But it's
Yeah.
more so I think just like labor shortage, and this also kind of goes into Instacart, which I'll talk about in a second. But um, Uber basically is now allowing yellow cabs to go onto their app and kind of integrate because there's a driver shortage, right?
Yeah.
We're seeing this as like a general labor shortage slash labor becoming more expensive.
Mhm.
So are gig workers getting the final laugh? You know,
Are they
can
getting the are you sorry, can you repeat the last sentence?
are gig workers getting the final laugh?
Hmm. Um I don't know. It's hard to say because it seems like I've heard a lot about like how the gig workers like they're actually not getting like a high share of it of the profits and stuff. Which
Mm-hmm.
I mean they definitely aren't getting like 100%. But yeah, I think so. I mean the cab drivers there's like a big there's a big kind of like just problem there because they've had to buy the what are they called the taxi medallions in New York City. They were like
Correct.
$1 million because there was only like a there's a limited amount. Like it was like a monopoly
They're
thing.
they were only $1 million. Now they're far cheaper.
Oh yeah, yeah, they were. Yeah, yeah, that's true. Now they're far cheaper because of Uber.
Mm-hmm.
But now Uber's like, all right, like we don't have enough drivers, so like let's get the cabs back. So it's like they're like bringing back what it used to be, but in a slightly different way.
Okay, so
I think the cab drivers are like
mhm.
the real like losers in this.
Why are the cab drivers the losers?
I mean, I guess this is good for them, but they were
Oh,
for quite a while because they bought the medallion and now they couldn't use them. Like if you bought one
mhm.
like right before Uber took over, like
Oh,
you would probably
yeah,
hate Uber for the rest of your life.
yeah. But I also hate taxi cabs, so
Yeah,
it's equivalent.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
They're not obviously they're not even close to like perfect, honestly. So
this is a fun story about me yoinking a taxi cab at the airport. Um, so Uber was going to take about 30-40 minutes for a car to arrive. It was, I don't know, it was 9 o'clock. I just came back from traveling from San Diego to Charlotte. Um, and I noticed that there was a queue basically lined up for taxi cabs at the airport. I had this brilliant idea. Because you don't essentially call one of these or hail one of these beforehand, I was just going to overpay essentially for a taxi. Um,
okay,
so the next one pulled up. I basically went to the front of the line and I said, "Hey, whatever this guy is paying you, I'm just going to pay you $150 to take me home for 20 minutes as a ride."
that's hilarious. Did it
And
work?
yes, and I had about a dozen people that were pissed behind me. Because normally they just take you whatever the fare is on the meter, and I'm just like, nope, it's a 20-minute drive. Do you want $150? You can't take anyone else. Yeah, like, just get me
Yeah,
home.
yeah,
So, capitalism in a nutshell.
yeah. Essentially, yeah.
So, what else? So that's fine. Now, moving on to Instacart. This isn't like an article, but I read this. Instacart's profit dropped by roughly 50% for the exact same reason as what we're seeing, where they can't find workers to do stuff.
Yeah, it's hard to like strike a balance because weren't they not profitable for like forever?
None of these are profitable, I think. It's
And
all
they're still
VC
not.
funding, just,
Yeah, yeah.
But you
Yeah,
can't give up market share.
that's the thing. Yeah, yeah, that's true. Yeah, it's hard to say. I mean, definitely like labor shortage is probably like the biggest cause of this, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
All right.
but also like they did raise their prices
Yeah.
pretty recently, I think.
What did
I
they
don't
raise
know.
them to?
They're gonna have to strike like a really fine balance between having people to drive for them as well as having it like people actually want to order it because like sometimes it's like
Mm-hmm.
stupid expensive. Like,
Would you use Uber to go to work every day instead of having
I
a car?
already did.
You already did?
I did that. I did that when I was heading to your house. Remember for the internship?
Oh, wait, really? That
Yeah,
I didn't
I
realize
was
that.
Ubering to your place every day. Yeah,
Did not know that.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. It was every day. Yeah, no, it worked well. I never had an issue.
Because a monthly payment on a car, like a decent one, is about $500. Then taxes, insurance, gas, all that.
Yeah, it adds up.
I don't know.
Yeah,
That's about $800. 800 divided by 30 is what, $20?
I would consider it. I want to say like I
Mm-hmm.
don't want to be like I personally just I like driving, so I would own a car regardless. But like in the sense in the like when I was Ubering to work every day, that made the most sense because I was only doing that for like what a month or so.
Yeah.
So
You
that
can't you
like
can't buy a car there. It doesn't make sense.
no I did for
Mm-hmm.
I did when I was there for 3 months. So I bought
Okay.
a car and sold it, but for 1 month, yeah, there's no point.
If you bought that car now, you could have resold it for more
Yeah,
profit.
I know. It was like a 2008 Civic, and I got it for it had like 80,000
Okay.
miles on it. It was pretty good. I bought it for 4,000.
Sure. Not to go too much into cars, like we did last podcast, but Europe is getting a Honda Civic hatchback that is a hybrid, like a plug. I don't think it's a plug-in hybrid. It's just hybrid. We don't have that here. I really want one. The Civic already gets good mileage at 33 miles per gallon, but this just takes it up to another level, and it's only like $2,000 more.
Yeah, dude, they always get the cooler cars. Like they always get the hatchbacks.
Mm-hmm. So, all right.
We need some sort of antitrust suit for them.
Dude, no German vehicles without the hatchbacks. There we go.
Yeah, exactly. There you go.
There we go. All right, moving on. Do you want to talk about the Amazon data thing? I don't know too much about this. What is the article?
So so I think for most websites most websites at least that collect your data like Facebook, Google, whatever, you can request what data they have on you,
Mm-hmm.
and they have to provide it to you legally. So this is an article I found where someone wanted to request their data from Amazon just to see what they had on like what data they had, and it turns out that it took Amazon weeks to actually accomplish that, and it was really tedious and confusing.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that you should be able to request your data from websites like this?
No. I can tell you why. It's because you can request whatever information you've typed in on your profile,
Yeah,
but otherwise it's too many systems for them to aggregate, right?
I mean it's huge, isn't it?
It's huge. So Amazon, I know for a fact, keeps a list of reoccurring things that you say to Alexa, and that's to help like AI predictability and stuff like that. And it's not associated to you in particular. It's just like a ID to your device or like whatever, right? And all gets aggregated into like a giant data lake, and machine learning is run on it to basically say, okay, do people want to know what the weather is like in the morning when they wake up as a suggestion for
Exactly right.
a skill, right? But then you look at Amazon specifically. They have Amazon Shopping, where they also have like a different data lake. Then they have the Alexa devices. Then they have the TV thing for TV recommendations. and then they have your wearable healthcare bands that they have now, and it's just like all of these things put together. If you wanted data from one specific thing, they should be able to give that to you, right? But if you're,
Yeah, exactly.
but if it's just like a request all button, go fuck yourself, because it's like the amount of time that they need to spend doing this is just way too hard.
Yeah, so the writer of this article said that he actually got presented with 74 separate zip files that he had to download individually and walk
That's what I'm
through.
saying. Like,
Yeah,
and
and
it's not
yeah,
that Amazon is trying to fuck you over on this. It's just like, think about it from a company's perspective. If you want to launch a new product quickly, right? And you're competing with like smaller startups and players, you essentially you're adding on that extra hurdle of how does this play nice with the existing data governance within your company. And like you
yeah,
need a specific software engineer to now incorporate that. You need a specific whatever. And these smaller companies that don't have millions or tens of millions of users, right? The regulations don't apply to them. So they don't need this data governance at all to conform to this legislation.
right.
So yeah,
Yeah,
that's what it is.
yeah. No, I definitely, yeah, I see your point. Yeah, just like I remember when I used to work at SDG&E, they were implementing something similar where you could download all your data, and I wasn't working on that or anywhere close to that team that was working on that, but I know they were like complaining about how like, well, like you have to put together all this stuff. If you miss one thing, then it's like a problem. I think that was California law on the CPUC.
Mm-hmm.
Just yeah,
And there's two ways that you can look at this. One is if, let's say, the law only applies if you have less than like $5 million of revenue or less than 100,000 customers.
sure.
As soon as you reach that milestone or in preparation of that milestone, you need to essentially hire another person and your overhead starts becoming massive, right? So
Right.
oftentimes this legislation does two separate things. One, it either makes it so that you're unable to compete with larger companies because you're priced out due to regulation.
Yep.
And it kind of like delays the advancement of products because Amazon, they can afford to pay that other engineer, or they can afford to have a specific team dedicated to this entire process, right?
Yeah, of
But
course.
if you're a company and you're dealing with not only California legislation, but now North Carolina legislation, if they have a different bill, or Washington, and then Europe, and then it's like, you just can't, you have to give up something.
Yeah, no, it's a headache. Yeah, that's at least like yeah.
And then when you make a mistake, they're going to penalize you. They're just going to say, give us $1 million.
Yep. Yep.
I hate, dude, I hate the government. Like, some things they do are good because like the law that they passed on this, it comes from a good place. I'm not disagreeing with that. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
you want to know what these companies data they have on you, and you want the right for these companies to be able to delete your data, right? Like,
Yeah.
but at the
That's a good
same,
concept.
but the people that actually write these bills don't know anything about technology and how it works.
That's the problem. Yep.
Okay, moving on. Final one.
Yep.
This is also another one of yours. Two men arrested for a 1.1 million NFT rug pull scam.
So yeah, so there's two people. They're
Okay.
both 20 years old, and I think they both raised around $1 million. I think like as a group, so I guess like 550 each, and so they released the Frosties collection, and then basically right after selling all of them, they just shut down the project. Um,
The
so it had
Frosties collection.
yeah, the Frosties collection, yeah. So it
I'm
included
looking
all
at
the
this
Frosties.
image right now. This is like the actual fraud. Someone paid probably $10,000. Oh my fucking Jesus Christ! We're in the wrong business. Like, why do I not
Yeah,
hire an artist from like a community college to just draw this?
yeah, right. They sold them initially at 130 each. That was the original price. Of course, I bet a bunch of people bought in at a higher price, but they had almost 9,000 of these. And yeah, the owner, one of the owners, sent a message to the mod saying like, "Oh, this is coming to an end." Basically, I think he sent them some Ethereum too, just to like,
Yeah.
pay him out. Um, but yeah, and then they shut it down. So why do you think they're just shutting? Like they make that much money. Why would they pull the rug?
That's a great
Like, why don't
question.
they just keep the project going? Isn't that a kind of
They literally could have just paid someone 100K in a third world country to just keep it going.
yeah?
It's
I don't
weird.
know.
I
It
think they
really
just
is.
fucked up here. Like they didn't know what they were doing. So their names are Ethan Wynn and Andre uh, Lucana or something like that.
Yeah.
They're 20 years old.
Yes.
Okay.
That's all that needs to be said.
Okay, so here's also another interesting thing. The Justice Department release is unambiguous about calling Frosties a scam. NFTs represent a new era for financial investments, but the same rules apply to an investment in an NFT or a real estate development. You cannot solicit funds for a business opportunity, abandon that business, and abscond with the money investors provided to you. If you are not going to do it, you probably shouldn't admit to it on Discord. uh, okay, fair enough.
Yeah, I think that concludes all our topics for today. Do you have anything else you want to go over?
Um, yes. So this is a prediction I have about the housing market. Very different from NFTs or anything we're talking about.
Okay, I'd
So
love to hear it.
last time I said that housing prices have to come down, but that's not true. Because imagine that you bought a bunch of real estate in the past year. Not a bunch, but you effectively bought your home, right? And this is kind of the
Sure.
same problem that we're facing is like, why do people not sell their houses right now at overly inflated prices? It's because if they sell it, they need to buy another property
Yeah,
at
they
an
get
overly
more so
inflated
that
price. Yeah.
yeah,
So, same thing. If they were to sell their house right now that they got at a really good interest rate, they would now need to take out a much higher interest rate loan. And
oh,
small correction, right? To what I said uh,
yeah,
last week. So what happens is demand will go down for the properties because interest rates have gotten much higher, but supply will also go down.
yeah. Demand's gonna go down across the board,
Hmm.
but supply, yeah, there's gonna be less sellers because of that too. It's like a
So it cancels out, and prices are still going
chain
to stay high.
reaction.
Yep.
Yeah,
Sucks to be young. Sucks to be
yeah,
trying to buy a house right now. I don't know what else I can really say about that.
yeah. Honestly, yeah. That's smart though. I didn't think of that.
Okay. Otherwise, thanks, Albert. See ya.
All right, thanks, Raven. See you later.
Yeah.